So I'm delighted to hand the microphone. It is on, Tim, and over to you.
Is it on? Yes, we're there. Right, okay. Newfangled technology. Right, good morning then, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our arena show this morning. We're members of the Victorian Association, and we'd like to work our imagination a little bit. We're not in sunny Kent anymore. We're looking towards South Africa in 1879, and all the troops we've got in the arena today are representing elements of the central column, that's Lord Chelmsford's invasion column, number 3 column of the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. If we can put ourselves a little bit into historical context, the Victorian time was a time of major expansion. When Queen Victoria comes to the throne in 1837, the British Empire still has been in its infancy. The subcontinent of India is still run by a private company, and the continent of Africa isn't actually even mapped, let alone explored and colonised. By the end of her reign in 1901, we're in a position where, as Queen Empress, she presides over the world's largest empire, and one which truly the sun never sets, with approximately a third of the world's people under her control. So what we're doing in South Africa in 1879? Well, we've started flirting with South Africa and the old Cape Colony in the 1815 sort of post-Napoleonic period. We're given a coaling station in South Africa at Cape Town as part of the treaties of the end of the Napoleonic period from the Dutch, and we slowly start to expand further. By the 1860s and 70s, our territorial ambitions in Africa are much greater, and certainly the dream of the imperialists is very much that we're looking to eventually having a Cape to Cairo railway running completely on British territory, permanently on a red line, so from north to South Africa, all on British soil. And that means we have to expand further north. So from the old Cape Colony, we start to look further towards the north. We have issues with our Boers. The Boers actually decide they don't want to be part of it. They're the traditional post sort of Dutch settlers. They've become what we know now as Afrikaners. They actually decide they're going to move forward into 2 republics north away from us, in both the Orange Free State and the Transvaal, and we're slowly starting to then cobble together a South Africa on the map. The British Army is quite constantly involved in professional soldiers. They're trained, they're well equipped, and in this particular instance, they're both battle-trained veterans. We've just finished in 1878 the 9th Kaffir or Cape War, Frontier War, depending on which you want to call it, against the Xhosa. And we're now in a position where we're now looking further north towards Zululand.
Thank you.
Chelmsford's idea is he's taking 3 columns in the pincer movement. He's commanding the central column, including both the 10th and the 24th foot, moving through Salwana towards Urundi, and then William Pearson's column will eventually, on the pincer movement, join them at Urundi. He's quite confident that he can actually beat the Zulu in the open. And again, when we talk about the Zulu, we have to remember the Zulus we're talking about aren't shepherd Zulus. The last time that any of the Zulu warriors have fought against anyone is in the 1850s during the Civil War to get Kitchener on the throne. And so they haven't fought against white people since Blood River in the 1830s. That's muskets, our brown-based muskets. We're now going in with cutting-edge technology. And what we're doing first of all is we're doing a little bit of our parade drills and talking a little bit about the kit equipment we wear. As I say, we're members of the 24th and we're wearing the uniforms of that period. We're not wearing tunics, we're wearing what's known as a frock. It's a loose working jacket designed so it's a 5-button, fairly loose garment for actually working in. We're carrying marching order equipment, so we haven't got our valises, we've just got our marching order gear, which is everything to sustain itself in action. The valises will be on the company wagons and carried from there. So if you're marching into Africa, this is what you're wearing. It's 1871 equipment, 2 small white pouches on the men's central of their waist. with an expanse pouch where they carry another 10 rounds. So they carry 20, 40 rounds in the pouches, 10 in the expanse, 10 in the haversack, and a further 10 in their reserve in the valise. So 60 to 70 rounds per round. Red uniforms, the traditional uniform of the British Army. If you see some of the parliamentarian soldiers wandering around from the English Civil War, we started wearing red in the 1640s, when Fairfax decides he's going to call all his soldiers in the same uniform, and red's the cheapest cloth. It remains our field colour right the way through to 1884, ceases through the Sudan, and is last worn at a place called Guinness in the Sudan in 1884. The only difference we have between the uniforms we wear on home service and what we wear on foreign service is the helmet itself. On home service, we're just at the cusp of changing. In the 1870s, up to 1878, we're wearing a shako, which is French-inspired, but in 1878, we replaced the shako with a blue cloth helmet with a spike on it, more familiar to the German pickelhaube, because we follow one of the most successful nations' headdress in Europe. After 1870, the French fall out of favour, the Germans are seen as being the most professional army in Europe, and they're the ones that we copied headdress on. On foreign service, we replaced that with a white cloth helmet. In most cases, dulled down. It's one of those weird things because, unfortunately, in Africa, you can dull something down, 2 weeks later, it's bleached out, you dull it down again. So it's this constant evolution of staining down your equipment. Carrying a wooden water bottle on our hip, holds about 1 1/4 of water in a coopered beeswax keg. If we put it into context, for those who remember the World Cup in South Africa, to rehydrate after 90 minutes of playing football, you'd need probably about 6 to 8 of those water bottles to rehydrate yourself. We're actually asking men to march 20 to 30 miles a day in up to, when we were out there, 42 degrees temperatures, and rehydrate with just a single keg of water. So, as well as the infantry, we have on my left, at the edge of the arena, a naval landing party. Again, we didn't have that many troops, so we tended to bring other soldiers in. And in this case, we've got members from HMS Shire, HMS Active, forming part of the naval landing party. They were predominantly with Pearson's column and Shawi, and the second invasion as relief for that. And they're manning a Gatling gun. And on the other side of me, on my right-hand side, we've got a shirt-sleeve order of Royal Artillery units manning a small flanking piece. There's £3, I think. N5, which was the battery at Sangwana, actually had 7 pounders, but they were light guns because they need to mounted on a thing called a Bavarian carriage, specifically designed to make sure you could get across rough terrain. So heavy 16 pounders, guns like that weren't effective. They tended to go for smaller, lighter guns. The infantry section are running through some bayonet exercises now, and that's the second arm of the British Army. We'll talk about the martini a bit later as we go through things, but the bayonet is equally important. Martini-henry is about 5 foot in length. We put another 21.5 inches of triangular steel on the end of it, and the 1876 pattern bayonet is known as the lunger. That's what we're doing with it. If you notice there going forward, it's not a cutting movement, it's a stabbing movement. The idea being that you actually get enough distance between you and the man in front of you to keep them from getting under your guard. You've got a 6 foot reach. If you think of the people we're fighting against, the Hanover, the Sudan, with short stabbing swords, clubs, weapons like that, the Zulus, who are fighting mainly underarm with their stabbing spears, or they've got to get under that reach. And the Zulus give the accolade of actually taking on a red coat with a fixed bayonet, the same as killing a lion. And we're one of the few armies in Europe that is actually comfortable about using the bayonet. In the Sikh Wars in the 1840s, when one of our generals told they ran out of ammunition, his only response is, "Thank God I can now be at them with the bayonet," because he knows we can carry with this. There's been a recent series of accounts, unpublished accounts of Rorke's Drift, and Caleb Wood, who was one of the defenders of Rorke's Drift, actually says that they were taking the Zulus on a short arm position, because when they threw that point forward, nobody could stop it. and he makes specific mention of the fact that that was a drill movement taught on the parade square, but actually then used in action at Walk Strip. And again, drill like this does two things. First of all, it actually gets people automaton-like, they're responding to orders, they know what they're doing, it builds up muscle memory as well. We're 21st century people, we can't help that. And so we've got a lot of quite tall people, 6'2", 6'4", on our right-hand markers. You could join the Victorian Army at 5'3" with a 34-inch chest. So physically a lot smaller than people now. You know, putting 60 pounds of equipment on them, giving them a 9.5 pound rifle, 2.5 pounds of steel on the end of it. You can drill like this 3 or 4 hours a day to build up the muscle form and the muscle memory to allow you to do it properly when it comes to action. So drill has two things. It makes sure that you know that all your mates around you are going to do exactly the same thing. And the second bit is actually builds up that ability to actually carry on good order like that. So Chelmsford, he starts to form up the invasion in December 1878, sends out to catch away a number of ultimatums, and the conditions of which the Zulus are never going to meet. They're a martial race, their whole sort of system is based around, particularly the male part of Zulu life, around regimental systems and age groups. And one of the demands is that they actually disband the Zulu army. Well, that's not going to happen. So basically, they're giving them a set of demands that they know that Kitchener cannot meet. As a result, in January 1879, the 7th Colours crosses over from Wall Street towards Ulundi, heading towards Ulundi at a fairly slow pace. There's a bit of bad weather, some of the tracks, because they're only wagon tracks, they're not built up roads like that, are pretty rough. There's a bit of bad weather, and it means that their conditions are slowing right down, and they arrive eventually in San Juana. As the 24th go in, and people who've been to South Africa, see pictures of San Juana, they'll know that the mountain itself bears a stunning resemblance to the collar dog, the sphinx of the 24th foot. Some of the lads see it as a good omen, others see it as an unlucky omen, but either way, they encamp there. It's not a standing camp, so although there is instructions to look at between standing camps actually to camp yourself and protect it, this is transit. 60 of the wagons that he's got are going back the following morning to Hawk Strip for his supply. There's a constant move, and he's moving forward. On the day before Battle of San Juana, he sends out Dartmoor with a reconnaissance column. He knows there's 20 to 30,000 Zulu somewhere out there. He doesn't know where. And he's actually sending a mounted force for the Natal native contingent troops to actually see if they can scout out where the Zulu are. They don't come up there, but they've got an indication that they're probably in the near area. So on the morning of San Juana, Chelmsford takes 6 of his companies out, marching out to try and take the Zulu on and fight them in the open. He's supremely confident because the weapons he's got, and remember that the martini-henry is the world's superpower's best rifle at the time. We are the world's best, we are the best, we've got the richest kit, and the martini-henry is specifically designed for colonial conflict. So he's going out with the best kit he can, with a fair confidence that he will actually stop the Zulus. Unfortunately, he manages to miss them, and he spends most of the hot day in the hills looking for them, whilst the actual Zulus come across the Detling plain and out-general us. They're in a position where their troops are in a much better place and are able to actually start to push the assault on the camp of San Juana. We sight the Zulus at about 6:30 in the morning. We stand to. A Zulu force moves across the front of the camp, heading towards the back of the mountain. The horn, but the horn's the right horn is swinging around the back of the mountain, and we just assume it's just a Zulu movement going across the frontage. Stand down, and then basically fall out for breakfast. We're then in a position where once the Zulus are sighted, there's cadets of local Natal horse volunteers out there. They sight the Zulu, reports are sent back to the camp, they stand to. There's a big argument, big debate for people within the Zulu war community. Oh, we should sort of shoulder to shoulder in the camp and actually take the Zulus to the camp. The ground doesn't suit them. If you're actually in a position where you've been to South Africa, and numbers have been on numerous occasions, Bulling, the commanding officer, throws out his rifle companies to a firing line about 3/4 mile north of the camp. And that's designed to take advantage of the best killing grounds you can find. The Nukutu player is in front of him, he's got good targets to his front, and having stood on the conical of the site of Pope's Company, G Company, and looked towards the conical coping where they come round, it's a target-rich environment. The moment the Zulus come 2,000 through that little gap, as an infantryman with a martini, I'd be very happy because I'm going to stop them there. So we've extended one of our sections to the front, and I should have warned you, if you don't like loud bangs, you shouldn't really be here. There will be a number of loud bangs throughout this now. We're now actually in a position where our section is engaging enemy to our front, and our artillery piece is actually engaging enemies as well. As you can see, this is one of the reasons why we don't have to bother about camouflage. There was no point in camouflaging yourself, because the moment you fire anything, massive amounts of black smoke, and you can finish it away straight away. And we don't mind that, because we actually want the enemy to come on. The martini-henry is a single-shot rifle, capable of firing up to 15 rounds a minute. It fires 0.45 lead slugs, that's about the size of the top of your thumb. And at that point, it blossoms on impact. It goes in ½ inch, comes out the size of a tennis ball, literally leaving a bloody great hole in the hips. And that's specifically designed. We aren't good marksmen, we don't need to be. Of our 80 rounds a year, we only practice 10 rounds aim, and the other 70 are actually purely for volley firing. Because I don't have to be a good shot. If I've got 20,000 Zulu coming at me, I don't care if I hit one there or there. As long as I hit somebody, I'm in good order.
Section will close on the right.
And as I say, the martini is specifically designed for conflict. We have used it in the Cape Wars, so we're confident with the weapon, and the 24 is noted as good, steady shots. Not marvellous shots, but they're good, steady, experienced soldiers, and when they are firing, and luckily our Gatling is also engaging the enemy. Chelsea didn't have Gatling, Pearson had Gatling, Hazel Brigade brought the Gatling into action as well, so that's engaging the enemy to our front. So we should be giving them a damn good hiding, which is what the 24 thought they were doing. The Central Imperial Companies, Alisandwana, believed they were actually giving the Zulus a damn good hiding. For 40 minutes, the central block of the Zulus didn't come on. They didn't come into the fight. And so you've got one of the Zulus stand up and the younger regiments, 20 to 25-year-olds, the elephant, pitch away, did not order this, lying down and waiting to die. They actually moved in. And then look at the face of that kind of and you think about it, you start to see a small section of infantry. He had 600 riflemen at this outpost. Who are terrific. You start to get a general idea of the kind of deployed battle. And it's quite impressive once you actually start to put in your mind what it looks like. Gatling's cyclical rate of fire is 70 rounds a minute, and shooting down, and we're doing quite well with ours. It's one of only 2 firing Gatlings in the UK. The other one is owned by Baptist, the
Really?
So you're quite lucky to be able to see this in action. And that's in our rifle section of some 22 men. That's basically a section of the company. The company is about 70 to 80 men strong. This is about the firepower that you're asking the Zulu warriors to advance against the contract. They beat us at Alisandwana because they're inexperienced. The young lads who come in are determined to charge home. At the battles of Kambula, Jinalola, and Limburg, they never charge home in the same way again. When the casualties are counted, and usually go back to Windy, just Ketchaway. Ketchaway as seriously stabbed in the belly of the nation. They lose nearly between 1,500 to 2,000 warriors at least. And none of those that are left are heavily scarred. If you're hit by a martini bullet and it doesn't kill you, it works to arm or leg. If it hits somebody at 400 yards, it's not going to be fast. If it's a running marathon, it's back. At 100 yards, it'll go through the person it hits and hit the person behind them. And so even though we lose a couple of thousand warriors on the battlefield, the Zulu children, the medicine men, aren't capable of dealing with those kind of trauma. And so the casualties are probably somewhere in around about 10 to 15% of Zulu units. And from then on in, like I say, they never charge home the same way that they did at San Juan. And you've got to remember from the Zulu's point of view, the last time they fought, like I say, was in the 1850s, and that was against their own Zulu warriors. They hadn't fought since Blood River in 1838, conditions where they've never come across modern weapons like we've got. And that gives us the advantage when we actually go on for the second invasion to actually finish them off from there. And again, in close order, it's a devastating, effective tool. Pope's company, whose most extended of them, was Chelsea ordered a thing called double extensions. The normal extension of the man is 4 paces between the man. Pope eventually ended up having to go 8 paces because he was definitely trying to keep touch with the left-hand flank of the Zulus. As they kept coming round, he kept extending outwards and outwards to try and hold. Half his company was chopped up individually. Pope and his officer, and that was perfectly timed as well, wonderful. That just seemed off. I'd be a bit worried if I was coming towards that. Pope's company, him and his second in command were found on the neck itself, with about half his company. The ones who were nearest to him who could withdraw, the ones on the far flank chopped up as they come in. And that's what started to turn the flank. When the flank started to turn, the withdrawals sounded. And again, it wasn't a rout. The British soldiers didn't retreat individually. It was a runaway thing. They fell back in rallying clumps, in groups of 4s, then get into 4s, go to 8s, 8s come to 16s, and then you start getting into company rallying squares. And certainly half the 24th reached the 3/4 of a mile back in rallying squares. A testament to the real discipline, and also there's nothing else, we've just got to go with it, is Anstey. Anstey's on the far left. He comes right the way across the saddle, right over the saddle, down the neck, towards Fugitives Drift on the way down the Fugitives Trail, and is caught at the Infantry Street. Nearly a mile and a half, and he's got 60 boats with him. Another company making a stand in a kind of a corral camp. So they were falling back in good order. And if anybody's familiar with Frick's painting, it's on display at the National Army Museum of the last act of the 24th. It's very heavily Victorian over dramatised, but it is a very accurate record of there's groups, rallying groups coming back into that main square that is there. And like I said, the Zulus did the accolade of killing a redcoat, the same as that of killing a lion with a fixed bayonet. So 24th are doing a bit better than they did at San Juan. We're fixing bayonets in. All this again, some of the accounts talk about they didn't have time to fix bayonets. That's how long it takes to fix a bayonet. 5 seconds. The Zulus ain't that close to stopping fixing the bayonet. And as we're drawing towards the end of our display, we start making weapons safe. Sergeant's obviously looking for Victoria Cross somewhere along the line, and we decided we were going to take him into on the point. And again, if you're an aficionado of Zulu War, there's Young Husband's Company, which is up on the top of the plateau, them shaking hands and then charging into Zulu. Some of the pictures of them charging individually as one another, they would have got sort of formation. Because if you're in that formation, you're going to punch a hole.
Right, dress!
That's the way they would have charged down the hill towards the wagons to try, in my opinion, reinforce either with another company or draw more ammunition to continue the fight. So, we're coming towards the end of our display here today. A little bit about who we are and what we're all about. We're all members of the Victorian Association. That's a conglomerate of virtually all the Victorian Kingdom. And we've got all bar one group represented today. As members of the Diehard Company Victorian Military Society, the Queens, Pax Britannica and the Blue Jackets.
3 cheers for Her Majesty, Queen Victoria! Hip hip!
Huzzah!
Hip hip!
Huzzah!
Hip hip!
Huzzah! Provided by note.
Company will replace headdress. Replace! Wait for it!
This is
Replace headdress!
Zulu War reenactors that ever been seen in the UK. It's quite privileged to be part of it, and there's quite a few nice little toys here. If you want to know a bit more about what we're about, we are strangely located near the beer tent. I'm not quite sure why we were changing there, but we're on the far end of the line over there. We are lucky that probably half of us have actually been to South Africa on numerous occasions. We've reenacted against the Zulu at Isandlwana, Rorke's Drift. We're very familiar with Africa, we're very familiar with what goes on there. So if you really are interested in a bit more in the Victorian Army, particularly the Zulu War, do come over and see us. I'll invite you as a friendly bunch. And on behalf of the Victorian Association, thank you for your time and attention. Thank you very much.